Okay. Well, as I always start when I'm at the Sunshine Coast, it is fantastic to be on the beautiful Sunshine Coast. And today I'm really proud to be here with my candidate for Caloundra, Stuart Coward, and also thank Tim from Aussie World for welcoming us here to this incredible, iconic Sunshine Coast tourism destination, which is, of course, the Banana Bender pub and Aussie World. Now, many Queensland families have enjoyed coming to Aussie World, bringing their kids here just like mine, but coming to Aussie World and enjoying a day out on the gateway. Well, this really is the gateway to the Sunshine Coast. Now, so a few things that I want to touch on. Anastasia Palaszczuk's border shambles is closing businesses and costing jobs. Anastasia Palaszczuk needs to give certainty and clarity to businesses across Queensland, but in particular right here on the Sunshine Coast. The closing of the border and the mixed messages is hurting businesses. Because of COVID here on the Sunshine Coast, around 2,100 jobs have already been lost. I mean, these are people, real people who have lost their jobs and their livelihoods. We also know that the tourism industry on the Sunshine Coast employs around 25,000 people, and just interstate tourism contributes to over $1 billion of tourism dollars into the Sunshine Coast. So that's exactly why I thank Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, for backing my call to have Anastasia stick to her plan of reopening the borders in July, like the government's own roadmap said it would. Now, the Premier has caused chaos and confusion by leaving that until September or even later. So I again call on Anastasia Palaszczuk to give businesses on the Sunshine Coast, on the Gold Coast, in Cairns, and in fact all across Queensland, the certainty and clarity that they are screaming out for, and stick to the plan of reopening the borders in July. So with that, I'm going to introduce you now to Stuart.
Thanks very much, Deb. Well, here we are, Caloundra, the city of beaches, and why wouldn't you want to come and holiday in such a wonderful destination? It is our number one industry here in Caloundra is tourism, but we have really suffered greatly at the hands of these borders being closed. Already we have lost thousands of jobs, and we are at risk at losing thousands more if we don't reopen these borders. Our economy can't be restarted, it can't be kick-started until these borders are open. Thank you.
Okay. And Tim, do you want to say a few words? Yes, you should.
Hi guys, welcome to Aussie World. Obviously been a pretty tough month, or a few months for us as a tourism destination on the Sunshine Coast and Aussie World. At the moment, like a lot of attractions, we're focusing on getting our plan together, and hopefully in the next month or two we'll be able to get going. I guess for us the key message is to really encourage people to holiday locally. Get out there and check out what's in your backyard, have a look at all the attractions, have a staycation in a local hotel, and you might just see the region for what you may not have seen before. So Sunshine Coast is hopefully going to be ready for business soon, but just encouraging people to holiday locally and hopefully come and check out our new ride soon.
What have you guys been? While you're here, Tim.
That's right.
Have you guys been doing? There are some works around here while you've been closed, preparing to reopen?
There's been a lot of work going on here. Yes, there's a lot of insurance work from the storm last year, but also a lot of new things happening. We're hoping to open the brand new ride behind me in the next few months, which is phenomenal for us. It's the first of its kind in Australia. So there's been a lot of a lot of gardening, painting, a lot of the touch-up work that you normally wouldn't get. A lot of engineering work's been brought forward, just so to avoid disruption later on. But yeah, really, we're looking very shiny and ready to go.
Tim, do you need the state government to sign off on your COVID-safe plan before you can reopen because it's unique to you?
Yes, we do. So we are finalising that at the moment. We're very encouraged. We feel confident that we've got a great plan together, and hopefully that goes through nice and easily, and we'll be ready to go.
How many people do you think you could have in here at the one time to meet those social distancing requirements?
We're still finalising the plan, so I guess it's not necessarily for me to speculate at this point, but we want a good number that's safe for guests and staff as well. So it's great to have fun, but we've got to do it safely.
In terms of borders, do you find a lot of the people that visit here are families visiting from other states, or is it largely people on the Sunshine Coast or Queensland?
It's certainly a mixture. So the Sunshine Coast does draw a lot of people from a lot of different areas, especially in winter. It's a beautiful part of the world. It doesn't get that cold. So we've got a mixture. So I think for us the focus is getting open and getting business going again.
Do you have any idea on the hit of income that you've experienced over the last couple of months?
It's been substantial, but I couldn't speculate on the exact figure, sorry. Okay,
Excellent.
great, thanks.
No worries. Okay, any other questions?
I've got some non-tourism related, so I don't know what do we want to cover.
Yep.
Well,
Just on the start
Yeah.
on the Gold Coast, sorry.
On the Gold Coast?
The airport down to 3 commercial flights a week due to closures. What's the take there?
Well, the best way to reopen the Gold Coast Airport is to reopen the borders. Anastasia Palaszczuk has just, Anastasia Palaszczuk has slammed the door on Gold Coast businesses by being so stubborn around the border closure. We know that the southern states are desperate to get into Queensland. They're ready to fly into this beautiful state of ours, and nowhere more so than the Gold Coast. And hence why we need to see those borders open so the Gold Coast Airport can reopen and start flying again.
On the medical pay rises,
Sorry?
on the pay rises for medical specialists,
Yeah, sure.
$68,000 pay rises have been approved. Do you support this?
Well, Anastasia Palaszczuk needs to present a budget so we can see what's going on in Queensland. I mean, we know that no budget means no plan. But in relation to that, I would say that Anastasia Palaszczuk needs to come clean around what has gone on here.
but do you think, Heidi, do you think that they deserve that rise?
Well, we need to, one question I would have for the Premier is how did this slip through the how did this slip through the cracks with the Premier's wage freeze? And that's why we need the Premier to come clean on what has actually gone on here and stop the cover-up.
It's a bit of a backflip. Is it going against that pay rise?
Well, those are the questions for the Premier, and the Premier needs to explain how this has slipped through the cracks for her supposed pay freeze.
On the Sunshine Coast Stadium,
Yeah.
Tim Anders said that the party's committed to
Yep.
expanding it, but can you commit to funding it if you are elected? in
Yeah, look,
October?
we're really excited. Stuart and I have just been on the ground of the Sunshine Coast Stadium, and we're really pleased to be able to get in and support that incredible project. I know Stuart is really excited about it. Jared Blay has launched a petition, and I think it would be wonderful for sport and entertainment on the Sunshine Coast, and much needed.
So can the LNP commit to
We already have committed to it, and I think you'll find that both Tim Mander and Jared Blade did that earlier this week as well.
Tim Mander actually said he wanted to wait to see if the community supported that proposal before you would.
Well, look, in relation to this project, this is a project that we want to see and hear from Sunshine Coast locals about, which is why we've started the petition. Look, the Sunshine Coast shouldn't have to wait until the next state election to get a commitment out of the Palaszczuk government. I mean, this is a government that has let the Sunshine Coast down. It has been severely absent. Where is the Palaszczuk government now when the tourism industry is hurting? Where is the Palaszczuk government giving security to the Sunshine Coast around a budget and what they have planned for the Sunshine Coast? Anastasia Palaszczuk has gone missing. The only Premier in Australia not to hand down a full state budget in 2020 is completely unacceptable. And who does that let down? That lets down the people of the Sunshine Coast.
So does that mean that if that referendum came back,
What
that
referendum?
My apologies. If that petition came back that universally Sunshine Coast wants this, there would be an unequivocal statement from you guys that you would fund it?
Absolutely.
I have a random question about Bribie Island pelicans. Are you across that? The Transport Minister's decision yesterday, putting roosting stations on the bridge there.
Sorry, so do you want to ask me the question?
Sorry.
Oh, is that the question?
What
Sorry.
do you make of the Transport Minister's decision to put roosting stations back on the Bribie Island bridge?
Well, this is a massive win for Simone Wilson, the local member of Bribie Island. So Simone Wilson of Palmerston had rightfully been standing with the locals of Bribie Island to protect the pelicans. Now, Bribie Island Bridge is an iconic bridge that has as you drive over it, you see the pelicans roosting, and unfortunately Anastasia Palaszczuk made the decision to put spikes on Bribie Island Bridge, stopping the pelicans roosting. It didn't make sense to Bribie Island locals, didn't make sense to the LNP's Simone Wilson, and that's why we fought hard, and that's why I'm pleased to see the pelicans back on Bribie.
Can I ask your thoughts, Deb, on the state government admitting that it's got QFES booking and paying for quarantine hotels out of its budget and saying that they will refund them through Treasury?
Well, first of all, I'm deeply distressed that I'm deeply distressed that funding has been taken away from the Queensland Fire and Emergency Services for any other reason but for what it is meant to do, and that is protect the livelihoods of Queenslanders from fire and emergency situations. Okay, thank you very much.